which means I'm not really looking at the camera. So I apologize for that. So you may not think I'm looking at you, but I'm absolutely looking at you. I just have you bigger on my screen. So hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Sullivan. I'm the President and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. And I want to start off by thanking our sponsor, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, for making these webinars possible. I'd also like to thank all of you, our councillor candidates, for both running in the municipal election and for being with us today. Today, we'll be hearing from District 13, which is located in Hammonds Plains, St. Margaret's, where Matt Whitman is the incumbent and where I would like to live someday. So, you know, this is vested interest for me. I want you all to know that. The Halifax Chamber of Commerce appreciates the time and effort that's required to run and become a councillor in the greater Halifax area. I also want to thank our viewers for attending today. Remind everyone that this will be recorded and it will be available. So for the candidates, if you like your answers, you'll be able to send it to the people that you know. If you don't like your answers, don't send it to anyone. We really appreciate your time. So given the restrictions due to COVID-19, we were unsure whether candidates would be able to canvass in person and potentially lose that personal touch that comes with campaigning. So we felt it was an opportunity to have you all here today and to record you so that you and we could use this information. The Halifax Chamber of Commerce knows how important the role of the municipality is to the success of our business community, and it's directly linked to the importance of our councillors and the decisions that they make. We wanted to ensure our members and the community could hear from and ask questions of their district candidates. This is in a webinar format, just to let you know. So for those of you who are attending and want to ask questions, you can do that with the Q&A that are at the bottom or the chat function. Okay, so either one of those as you ask questions of the candidates. For those of you that don't know, the overall goal of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce is to create value and prosperity for our over 1,700 members. Through our 2019 to 2023 strategic plan, we provide the services businesses need, hosting virtual and in-person events, and help them learn and advocate for the conditions in the economy that will enhance their prosperity. We have 2 task forces, fostering private sector growth and accessing a skilled workforce, which are currently working towards goals that aid in our members' prosperity and economic growth in the municipality. We usually, in a good year, host approximately 100 events a year, which focus on many of the areas mentioned above. We do have signature and annual events, which often feature local entrepreneurs, immigrants, post-secondary institutions, and prestigious business organizations. Each year, we provide our members with the opportunity to hear the state of the municipality and the state of the province during luncheons and celebrate their successes at our business awards. This is, of course, an unusual year, so we are doing many more of those things online. As I mentioned, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors is sponsoring this series of Meet Your Candidates events, and we'd like to say a big thank you to them for supporting this idea and initiative. I'd now like to turn it over to the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors to welcome the crowd and to say a few words. Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you for this opportunity. So my name is Chris Peters. I am going into my 10th year of real estate. Haven't seen anything like we're seeing right now, especially here in the HRM. And I'm the current president of the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. The Nova Scotia Association of Realtors is very pleased to sponsor this series of Meet Your Candidate events. NSAR represents over 1,600 salespeople and brokers across the province. We are the voice of real estate here in Nova Scotia. Realtors are ambassadors of our communities and often one of the first points of contact for new residents. We know the communities we serve, from the schools and recreation facilities to the service providers and commute times. We are your trusted guides. Realtors connect home buyers to potential cost savings and government programs, such as the first-time home buyers incentive, and realtors play a key part in working with our elected officials to strengthen our housing markets. Realtors are also a key component of the local economy. In 2019, the average housing transaction through the NSAR MLS system generated an estimated $47,600 in spin-off spending, totaling over $586 million in spin-off spending in just 2019. In 2019, the MLS resale housing activity created an estimated 44,000 new jobs in Nova Scotia. The real estate industry is proud to be a contributor to our vibrant communities, but as you all know, housing has been in the news quite a bit lately. In fact, I just did, I guess it was a TV interview yesterday for CTV News, obviously talking about about the hot market that we're experiencing here in Halifax, and of course about the inventory and vacancy rates, and they're at all-time lows here in HRM. Without housing, our communities suffer. Housing is a spectrum, from community and social housing to new builds. Realtors believe that everyone should have a place to call home. That's why we're so pleased to participate in this series of discussions to help shape how our communities and our municipality move forward. Every person on this call has an opportunity to work together to make housing more affordable, from speeding up development permits to creating more rental housing and encouraging backyard and secondary suites. We can all play a part in moving forward to build better and stronger communities. Thank you to the Halifax Chamber for this opportunity to sponsor today's event. And thank you to each one of our candidates in front of us today for taking the time to put themselves forward during this election. With that, Patrick, I throw it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. I feel like I'm talking to a movie star. I saw you on CTV News last night, so thank you very much for that. So now on to what we're here for. Each candidate will have exactly 3 minutes to introduce themselves and give a few reasons for running, and then we'll get into questions. So our questions will be a combination of those that we have previously sent to the candidates in our candidate package. And if any of our viewers have any questions, you can certainly ask questions, and I will pass those on to the candidates. Please send your questions through the Q&A at the bottom of your screen or in the chat function, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. No guarantees, so ask early. If we don't, we'll send the remaining questions over to the councillors to follow up. If the councillors wish to answer any of those questions, they can do that by writing some of the answers. I think that may be a problem for you, Robert, but we'll figure out this iPad thing as we go along. And everyone will certainly get a chance to answer the question. So now we're going to do the 3-minute question or answer to the 3-minute. You'll have 3 minutes to answer. Following that, each additional question will be only 1 minute as we go along. Now, just a reminder to everybody, you can now see that big clock in front of you. You see the little mouse. That's not your mouse. That's probably Kathleen or Sandra's mouse. If you roll over between the pictures and the clock, you'll see a line, and you can grab that with your mouse and you can pull it, and that will allow your picture to get bigger. For me anyway, on a computer, so that I can see all of you at one time, okay? Which makes it a little bit easier for me, and you may be able to do it that way. Now, what I'm gonna do, start with, we're gonna work our way through, and then I'm gonna probably go back the other way, and then I'm gonna go sideways, so you'll never quite know when I'm going to call on you. I'm not doing this in any particular order so that everyone will have a chance to either be at the beginning or the end, okay? Just to kind of keep it equivalent. But as we start, and again, you have a chance, 3 minutes to introduce yourself and give a few reasons for running. Let me start with Derek Balmore. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself, Derek.
Hey, hi, can you hear me? All right, hi, so my name is Derek Balmore. I'm 26, I'm a long time, I grew up in Hammonds Plains, and yeah, I'm running to become councillor for District 13, Hammonds Plains St. Margarets. So I'm a Dalhousie grad, I'm a former member of the Heritage Advisory Committee, and I'm running for council because there's a lot of things I see that we need to do in this city, for our district particularly, update our streets, create safer spaces for people, update our transportation connections, and create more of a place for people to actually engage with their councillors with their government in general. And that is something I've kind of been passionate about for a while, because there's been abysmally low participation in our municipal branch of government. I want to try and bring that to the forefront, especially with everything that has been going on. So, so I do hope that soon we can build up that rapport within our communities, have more public engagement, so that people actually have a say in what happens in their community. We actually can bring in community-based planning, and so we can update our transportation infrastructure so that we have more options and more connections. Yeah, and that's it for me.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Derek. So Derek was very good and was under the 3 minutes. But just a reminder, it is 3 minutes. It'll go to 1 minute. It is our intention, just to provide everyone with the same amount of time, to turn off your mic at 3 minutes. So that may not be an issue. It may be more of an issue when we get to 1 minute, but just a reminder that we will stick closely to the time, okay? And now I'd like to go to Tim Elms.
Hello everyone. So I'll get right to it. It's great to see everybody moving, not on the signs. It's great to be in person. So who is HRM District 13 Councillor candidate Tim Elms? Who am I? Well, I'm a loyal neighbor, and a patient father who's focused on ensuring his family continues to grow in a safe and flourishing community. I'm a St. Mary's MBA alumnus with experience as a relations advisor for Atlantic Canada's rural municipalities, and this gives me proficiency with municipal planning. I'm a hardworking, solution-seeking, and ever-present project manager. I'm a member of the Halbert Homeowner Association and an active participant for both St. Margaret's Bay and Feed Nova Scotia food drives. I'm also an outdoor enthusiast, and I recognize the importance of community sustainability, traffic safety, and accessible recreation for everyone in our district. I'm a previous small business owner, and I understand the importance of supporting local businesses initiatives. And I'm not afraid of making waves in order to contribute to the greater good and create positive changes. And why I'm running, in all honesty, I think we can do better. I've grown tired of politicians who focus on elections instead of solutions, claiming that they've done so much, but with little actual results. And I want to hold this position accountable. My experience with policy and procurement, as I mentioned, for Atlantic Canadian rural municipalities has given me the experience, but also has me questioning why we see so little from our tax dollars. You can literally see the divide between our municipality and different municipalities and our district and other districts. So where do our taxes go? So I want to elect a transparent and knowledgeable candidate who will include the provincial government in discussions to deliver traffic calming solutions, safe, accessible recreations for both facilities and common spaces that will help support our local businesses. And that's me in a nutshell. I think I'm under 2 minutes.
There we go. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Tim. Okay, on to Robert. Oh, Robert, you're on mute. Oh, and there you are. Yeah, on mute. Oh, still on mute. There you go. Perfect.
Okay, are we okay?
Yep.
Okay, my name's Robert Holden. I was born and raised in Glenhaven, where I live now, in District 13. Why am I running for Councillor of District 13? Well, I'm running to help make District 13 and HRM a better place for everyone by facilitating opportunities and addressing issues, by engaging stakeholders, and providing them with strong representation on municipal council. I feel like more accessibility, accountability, and transparency is needed from our politicians, and I am committed to perform my duties in that way. I have a history of accomplishing results. I'm a small business owner. I've been an account executive, a trust branch manager, a sponsor representative, an operations analyst for a 5-year strategic project for a Fortune 500 multinational corporation. I'm trained in Bates critical path project management methodology and have university business education. I've been the president of a not-for-profit Rock Artists for Artists. I sat on the board of directors for the Nova Scotia Music Industry Association of Nova Scotia and sat on the organizing committees for the first and second Nova Scotia Music Weeks. I have owned and operated talent agency, Vision Entertainment, representing some of Atlantic Canada's top performers, as well as having worked as the Eastern Canadian representative for the Society of Authors, Composers, and Music Publishers of Canada. I have a history of results. So, in order to accomplish the goals, I will advocate for more equitable allocation of resources for District 13 to transit, recreational facilities, events, protection of wilderness coastline accessibility, and increased infrastructure and services. The pool, for example, here is outdoors. Lessons take place during work hours for children. So that can be an issue for anybody who works and their children are in someone else's care possibly. An important issue for District 13 is issues created by split jurisdiction between HRM and the province. In some places in the province has jurisdiction, and in other places HRM does. Each government has its own processes, budgets, players, and priorities, and HRM needs to have jurisdiction, I feel. Most districts don't experience this maze of bureaucracy, and it needs to be addressed. District 13 requires improvement in access to transportation of people within the district and between the district and other key points in HRM. Part of this means bylaws restricting private enterprise from participating in the transportation of people for profit need to be amended. Affordable housing.
Just to remind you, 5 seconds.
Okay, affordable housing is a serious issue that needs to be addressed.
Okay, there we go. And okay, so that's great. Thanks very much, Robert. Sounds like you have a cat too. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, on to Nick. There you are, Nick. Nick.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for hosting this. First of all, I appreciate it, and I'm sure all the other council.
Uh-oh. Nick, you froze. Nick froze. Did he freeze for everybody? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll just wait a second for Nick, although just a reminder to all the candidates, in the Q&A and chat, you can see some of the questions that people are answering, so you may want to keep an eye on those as we'll get to those eventually. Nick, you froze, so you can start over if that's okay.
Okay, do you have me now?
I have you now.
Beautiful. I don't know what happened there. Thanks for hosting, first of all. As we meet here today, I'd like to acknowledge that we stand on unceded ancestral Mi'kma'ki lands, and HRM needs to strive to preserve and protect our rich history of our Mi'kmaq ancestors, particularly on McCoos Island, where Mi'kmaq history is rich. I'll also say that I respect the office I wish to hold and will not be engaging in any attack-style politics or heckling my opponents today. You'll also not hear me speak badly of any opponents or our outgoing councillor. It's not representative of a good leader. I'm eager and engaged to be your new city councillor, and I have a proven track record of serving our community as an experienced leader. I initiated the opposition of the Tantalon asphalt plant in 2015, helping to mobilize the community and win limits on the plant's operations, which have ensured the plant will leave after the highway twinning to Exit 6 is done. For the past number of years, I've been the chair of the St. Margaret's Bay Stewardship Association. Recently, working hand in hand with the province, I helped secure a biodiversity assessment and a pause on clear cutting in the sensitive St. Margaret's region. I've been vice president of the Westwood Hills Residents Association for the past number of years and a member since 2008, working to construct a community dock and advocating for better access to Crown lands and emergency egress for our communities have been important to me. I'm the current vice chair of HRM's Northwest Planning Advisory Committee, and I also chaired the St. Margaret's Bay Coastal Planning Committee in 2017. Planning and advisory committees scrutinize the same planning and application documents that councillors do, and we make recommendations to council on which way they should vote on planning matters. So the job of councillor is not new to me. I've been scrutinizing the same documents, reading between the same lines, and asking for the same missing information for 5 years. I was delighted to serve on the Bay Treasure Chest board, community lottery, which earnings support those in the community, such as the Seniors Association, the Stewardship Association, the Food Bank. Last year, we raised over $1 million and $425,000 in prizes and local scholarships have benefited our community. I'm currently a member of the St. Margaret's Bay Community Enterprise Center Board. It's a community enterprise center where small businesses and community interest groups can rent meeting space to help their business grow. In 2018, I received both provincial and municipal volunteer awards. I'm a small business owner. I've owned a food truck called Nomad Gourmet. I've changed the food truck bylaws because of that. And yeah, I think we have a lot of work to do. Affordable housing is very important to me, and it's one of the main reasons I'm running. I hope to have your vote.
Okay, cutting it off just in time there. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. Okay, on to Daryl Justin.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Daryl Justin. I've been in the community for over 30 years, and I decided to run a resource, especially with the COVID issues that have been going on for the last 7 months. This past Saturday, my wife asked me if I was getting tired of canvassing. I commented that I was a little weary at the end of the day, but canvassing was actually my favorite part of the campaign. I had an opportunity to meet residents and to see what their issues are. I mentioned to Pam that 8 years ago, I had a conversation with a community leader that I had the utmost respect for, Bill Esterbrooks, who was a school principal in MLA. Bill was also a Bruins fan, and I liked him because of that also. I asked Bill what made him successful in his job in dealing with the community. Bill said to me, dedication to engage with residents on a regular basis. Bill would do his weekly Friday canvassing, and he told me continue to canvass on a regular basis even after he was elected. It's the same principle I strive to follow if elected. My volunteer and business experience over the last 30 years supports this goal. Over the last week, I've been told by individuals and emails that I'm a contender for this position as municipal council. And people have asked me what sets me apart and why they should vote for me. I've indicated that my skill set and experience as a professional accountant over the last 40 years and a business owner for the last 20 years, in the last 7 months, dealing with individuals, businesses, and organizations with regards to COVID. I am a business consultant, a contract negotiator, an auditor, a financial planner, and I've worked at all 3 levels of government. I understand financial reporting, budgeting, and cash flow. I'm a tax advisor also. These skill sets have worked really well with my volunteer work, and these are skill sets and experience that I think will fit the role of municipal council. A new resident in the district who's voting for me indicated to me that we need more people with my skill set on municipal council. The individual was a staff employee of another municipality and moved to Halifax. He mentioned that there's a lot of really good community-minded people on council, but we lack individuals that are truly have a financial aspect of the job. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for providing this opportunity. I'd like to wish my fellow candidates well, because I know this is a big commitment. And finally, I would like to thank you for listening to my message at home. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Daryl. On to Pam Lovelace. Pam.
Hi, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. This is my second time running. In 2016, I put my name on the ballot because I wanted to see change. I wasn't happy as a constituent here in Hammonds Plains, St. Margaret's. I wanted to see a new style of politics, and that's why I'm running again. As the only woman running in this district with 9 candidates on the ballot, I will acknowledge the 2 candidates that are not here today. Harry Ward, who has, I just want to reach out and say condolences to him for the loss of his mom, and Tom Arnold as well, who is not here with us. So just wanted to acknowledge them, and also acknowledge that we are, as Nick Horn has suggested, on unceded Mi'kmaq territory. We're also here in Hammonds Plains, St. Margarets, with a very long-standing and important Black community here. So Upper Hammonds Plains, I want to reach out to you as well. Sabaganagati. I want to condemn publicly the violence against the fishers, and certainly Acadia First Nation recognize the work that you're doing as well for Indigenous rights. You know, as a communications advisor and project manager, I have worked for the last 10 years and volunteered as well with municipal governments in Halifax as well as East Hants. We've seen an incredible change in the mindset of residents who want desperately to have a seat at the table and to be heard by their government. I'm running for District 13 because I want to put community at the head of the table. For too long, community members have been ignored. Small businesses have not had a voice. In 2013, I was involved in bringing back to life the Hammonds Plains Area Business Association to create networking opportunities. As a past member of the Halifax Chamber, I've attended many events and listened to small businesses and the importance that it is for them to find the resources that they need in order to survive, in order to grow. Certainly right now, we're dealing with a lot of issues when it comes to succession planning and trying to help these businesses prepare for the future. You know, as Daryl has pointed out, we have significant challenges ahead of us. We've got a large drop in revenue. We have a crisis of housing before us. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken with, seniors who desperately want to leave their two-story house, but they can't. There is nowhere for them to go inside the community. We have a housing stock deficit as far as, you know, having that diversity of the inventory. So I know, Chris, you know, the work that you and your
Pam. So just to let you know, so we've reached our 3-minute limit. So there you go. So now everybody knows we're serious. Thank you very much, Pam. Appreciate that. I can tell you're on a roll. It was great. Thank you. And then last but not least, Ian Taylor.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, I drew the lucky straw. It seems like the last person to go. First off, I'd just like to thank the Halifax Chamber of Commerce for putting on these candidate webinars. For me, I'm not canvassing in person due to health risks to my daughter, so I really appreciate the opportunity to address everyone with the other candidates. And I would also like to wish my fellow candidates good luck in the election. Now, so far my campaign is focused on the ways the municipality can address the 3 current global crises that we're in. We're facing a global health crisis with the COVID-19 pandemic. We're facing the economic fallout that has brought, and we're also facing how we address climate change. Now, these are very big and very difficult problems to address, but I believe they start at the municipal level. If we look right now at the rest of Canada, we're seeing places like Ontario and Quebec, the emergence of a second wave of COVID, and to a lesser extent, BC and Alberta. And if we look down in the United States, we're seeing what happens and the consequences of not addressing it head on. In my home country of Northern Ireland, they just reintroduced their lockdown protocols. My point with this is with Thanksgiving and Halloween approaching and Christmas and New Year's just around the corner, now it's even more important to remain vigilant and practice health safe practices. Now, while these larger issues that we're going to deal with, we need to avoid falling into like a tribal kind of politics where it's an urban core versus a rural or a suburban area. There's going to be less money to go around, and we need to address these big problems as one municipality, not 16 districts. If we're going to be successful, we need to focus on strategic investments in our communities for long term. By this, I don't mean investing just in the downtown economic hub or in areas with a higher density population-wise. We've seen through investing in our rural areas like Sheet Harbor, how much this can benefit the community. The same can be true in Hubbards. And there's a grassroots movement trying to bring safe sidewalks to this area. Through investing in this, we can develop the area for long-term investment and community development. Now, it's clear that the municipalities that will emerge on the other side of COVID the best will be the cities that are the most attractive to live in. And the Maritimes have done an excellent job with the bubble, showing that we can do it safely. And Halifax has always been a destination for immigrants and students and tourists. But our tourism and our hospitality industry is being devastated. We need the municipal government to open to change and to respond quickly to this emerging environment. Part of our response needs to be directed through empowering our citizens financially, which can be done through developing secondary suites or listing Uber and Lyft, or using our residential land for agricultural use. Through doing this, I believe that if you have property or you have a house or you have a vehicle, you should be able to use this to utilize it for a source of income. Individual flexibility in this sense is more essential now than ever. Thank you.
There we go. I'm muted. Thank you very much, Ian, and thank you very much, everybody, for that great overview of your candidacy. I'd like to now turn it back over to Chris at the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors to kick off the question and answer session. I'll remind everybody that we'll be back to 1 minute. Chris, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Patrick, and thank you to each of our candidates. You are all very clearly passionate about your district and bring a whole breadth of experience to the table. So obviously, coming from the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, our question is going to be directly pertaining to housing. Purchase and rental housing supplies are near historic lows in Nova Scotia. Housing is essential to our communities and our businesses. How will you ensure there is a healthy housing mix that includes the entire spectrum, from community housing, rental, and home ownership? Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Chris. And I'll ask our folks, Kathleen or Sandra, to perhaps post that in the chat so that we can all see that question as we go through. I'm going to mix it up again. I'm going to start with Daryl Justin. Daryl.
Okay, thanks for the question, Chris. HRM has grown over the last couple of years, seeing new Haligonians, new Canadians, young people, and seniors. I believe there's a need for a vision of growth and strategic supply of urban and rural areas to ensure that we meet targeted demand groups, community and affordable housing, rental markets, residential markets, with strategic price points to attract first-time buyers. This may entail working with community groups, developers, contractors, and HRM staff. A goal of removing red tape to reduce timelines and increase supply market availability, but ensuring active compliance with bylaws to protect existing property owners, lakes, shorelines, and green spaces. Market planning and utilization of the new federal program for affordable housing should be considered. Recent approval by council of secondary and backyard suites are beneficial to increase supply, and the following benefits could add the following benefits of extra income for seniors, first-time home buyers to qualify for mortgage with the additional rental income, and increase in economic activity to retrofit in the construction industry.
Okay, wow, you squeezed that in. Perfect. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, on to Ian Taylor. Nope. Try again.
Sorry, keep forgetting. Okay, as mentioned before, there's a 1% vacancy rate in Halifax for rental units. I mean, this means there's a low supply and a high demand, which increases the price and it's passed on to renters. Personally, I've just gone through the process of selling a house and purchasing a new house. I sold my first house, which was in Cole Harbour earlier this summer. And over the course of 2 days, we had 24 listings. And by the end of the weekend, we had 12 offers on our house. This just goes to demonstrate how aggressive the market is. And it continues to drive up these prices for people trying to buy the first house and get on the property ladder. The housing needs and demands for District 13 are not the same as they would be in downtown. For District 13, I'd like to see expanding on secondary units for a lot of people and looking at introducing further housing for our seniors so they can grow old and age in their community they were raised. Thanks.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Ian. On to Pam.
Hi, thank you. So I will just echo what has already been said. In addition to that, I will say that, community needs to lead. We're in this situation of housing, in particular here in District 13 and other rural areas, with no seniors housing, no affordable housing, no accessible housing, because the developers are leading. They are building the two-story houses because that's what makes them the most dollars. So we need to look at our community plans, our municipal planning strategies, and ensure that we as community are guiding the way to assist those developers, but more importantly, the community groups, and putting them in charge of building the housing and maintaining the housing that we need. We here have heard from many organizations that want to have seniors housing, but they just don't have the funds to do that. They don't have the network, and they're not sure how to access those federal dollars, and they do exist. So we need a counselor who's able to negotiate and connect our community groups to create the co-ops and to create the community housing.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Pam. I think we're just one word short there. That's great. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm looking here. Tim Elms.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Chris. I love everybody's ideas. We're all passionate about this. It's great to be part of this group of candidates. What I think needs to happen is, and I'll reiterate some of the things that have already been mentioned, we need to relax zoning laws and bylaws to make sure they're all up to date. We need to increase our use of online e-permit zone reclassification, and we can create more affordable and accessible housing by both dezoning the suburbs as well as allowing some gentle densification that goes beyond secondary suites and laneway houses, but would include more to redesign single-family lots into multi-family lots. This will help with our aging pensioners who can't afford to move into assisted living complexes that are priced out of their means, but they can live in their house. We can also look at a combination of public-private housing where governments invest more in housing funds that can be used to help developers finance new buildings, which include more units for low-income housing and/or aging and/or working-class residents.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Tim. On to Robert. Oh, Robert, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay.
There you go.
Is the clock going?
It will be.
Okay. The development plan for District 13 is outdated and requires revision. In the current plan, there is very little real estate available in zones that allows up to 20 residential units. There's very little real estate available in zones that allows up to 12 residential units. If we do not have adequate real estate set aside for these important projects now and in the future, we will be left out of the process. And this ties directly into affordable housing and how affordable housing can be developed here. But we need the real estate to do it and the zoning. So it needs to be revisited. I think that the basic vision for the current zoning in District 13 is, it was done through community process, and it is the vision of what the community wants. I don't think we need huge developments, 30-story towers or anything like that. In scale to make communities livable. There are programs developers can access to build and maintain affordable housing through CMHC. The federal government had earmarked affordable housing in Nova Scotia. HRM Council is discussing.
I think we're good there. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Okay, and on to Nick Horn.
Thanks for the question. A couple of things I don't think we should do. I don't think we should relax zoning laws, which govern what goes into a specific area or create PP partnerships. I think what we need to do is ensure our community looks and feels like home in the end after we foster new development. Our affordable housing crisis is real. We are losing pieces of our community every time somebody has to downsize and move to Clayton Park or in town. Specifically, what we need to do is immediately begin work to create a tracking proposal at the back of the list. We need to create a fast track so that we can solve this crisis quickly. I'd also motion for HRM to ask the province to give HRM the authority to expand current density bonusing so that we can build affordable housing all over the municipality.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Nick. And finally, again, last but not least, I guess we have Derek.
Thank you. I mean, it's no secret that we're in the middle of a housing crisis. I mean, part of the that's one of the reasons that I'm pushing for planning so much, because they are severely outdated, like Robert said before. And that's why we need more community-based planning so that whatever new developments that come into our area actually matches the needs of the community and the actual identity of the community. And we need to provide more supports for affordable housing, seniors housing, and the creation of mixed income neighborhoods. And we need to also put the infrastructure in place to support these neighborhoods as well, especially the ones that exist right now. And the move to put in backyard suites and secondary suites, that was a great move by HRM and council overall. And we need to keep moving forward with this with affordable housing.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Derek. Okay, I know we have some questions here. I will get to some of the questions. I noticed Pam is answering some of the questions, which all of you are able to do if you can see them directly on the in the chat function. So you can take a look at those. I am going to I'm going to jump into some of these questions actually. So one of the questions is long-standing concern in the Halliburton Heights community has been the lack of a secondary exit at the back of the subdivision. What would your approach be to, particularly in the event of an emergency, what would your approach be to resolve this this issue? Daryl? Oh, sorry. You know what? I'm not going to start with you. I apologize, Daryl. I started with you last time. I'm going to go to Robert with that. Oh, Robert, we got you on mute there. Oh, not yet.
Okay. I can't see these questions. I guess other candidates can see.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. So I'll just repeat the question. A longstanding concern in the Halliburton Heights community has been a lack of a secondary exit at the back of the subdivision. What would your approach be to resolve this this issue?
I honestly don't have enough knowledge to give an answer to that. I wasn't aware of the issue in the Halliburton, or I need to research it. I couldn't just give you an answer to something so specific off the top of my head.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering if that is a little specific. I'll ask a couple more folks. Ian, do you have an opinion on that?
Similar to Robert, I'm fairly new to the area, so I'm still trying to get to grips with a lot of the locations in the area, so I don't really have enough information. Something like this that would be brought to my attention, I would look into and see exactly what it's referencing and look at possible solutions. But outside, I can't give a straight answer at this moment because I'm not familiar.
Derek?
Unfortunately, I'm kind of in the same boat as well. I can speak on the entrance that is there right now because that's definitely in need of improvements in that section. But I would have to look more into the actual connections. I definitely am open to looking at options and speaking with people about that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Tim?
We're talking about the Sussex Drive to Stillwater Lake, the connection to Elder Drive and Tantallon. I think it's really important that it's all indicative of the 113 connecting up the two highways. But we really need to work with Blue Mountain Birch Coves associations to make sure that we're building it like we live here. We don't want to, we want to balance that middle ground between the environment and the accessibility for having an exit off of that area. I do think it needs to be talked about. We do need to work closely with the provincial government for that as well. And it's really important. So I would definitely support with the local associations. I find time to open up and have open communications and start that with the provincial government, but really talking about the Sussex Drive extension, focusing on what HRM has already done and put forward and working with all the factors that go around that as well. Hope that answers.
That's great. Thank you, Tim. Pam?
Thank you for that question. So the Eider Drive extension from Sussex is in the works. I spoke with MLA Ian Rankin about the land purchase and the Crown land that is there. There are a few deeded properties that need to be purchased. The other thing, of course, that's happening is Leeward Drive is being extended so that Highland Park has another exit at the back. So again, unfortunately, community is not at the table and not being communicated with actively. So unless there's a counselor at the table who's willing to ensure that community is aware of the progress of this extension. But for far too long, the community has asked for this. We're very concerned. We need an evacuation route should there be any emergency in the back of Highland Park or Haliburton. But certainly the 113 is not on the books. The province will not be moving forward with that anytime soon. Thank you for that question.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Pam. Nick.
Thanks for the question. I've lived in Westwood Hills for 13 years, and for about 5 years, I've worked on emergency egress in our community, trying to get an access bridge built to the former Bowater Mersey lands and the Ingram River Wilderness area, so that in the event of an emergency, be it on the forest side, whereas someone's lost, people have been lost back there before, so that emergency vehicles can access that side, or from our side, whereas our communities were both assessed in the past couple of years for wildfire risk, and we are at the extreme end of wildfire risk. So in the event of a fire, communities like Westwood Hills and Haliburton Hills and Highland Park enough exits, and we need to fix that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. And finally, Daryl.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, I agree with what Tim's comments were, balancing the issues of the Blue Mountain Birch Grove group and everybody that's connected to that. But also, I've been a resident of both Haliburton and I'm present resident of Highland Park. And at the doors, there's a lot of individuals, especially in Haliburton, that would like to see a second exit. And I guess my role is to, as a counselor, would be to look at the specifics. All the information I have is really is secondhand knowledge. So I'm careful when I get information. It's been some 20 years since that plan has been put in place. I may be wrong on that, but I was told that. But again, it's something that I would want to analyze, look at the specifics of it, and provide insight from community members and the provincial government and the municipal government, and also provide a timeline.
Oh, I think we're going to cut you off there, Daryl. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. As we reached our 1 minute, we will allow folks to, we will provide them with the questions, and you can answer the questions in writing. And I believe we have all the attendees' email addresses. I think you're able to send those. I'm going to get Kathleen or Sandra to correct me on that. Sorry, I'm trying to get my iPad going here. So I think, Robert, if you just touch your iPad, I think you can see some things at the top. If you just touch it, then you'll see at the top, you'll see chat or Q&A, and you can further touch those. So I'll let you play with that for a little while, and I'm going to get on to some other questions here. In the meantime, I'm going to somehow mute this so we don't have feedback. I apologize for that. Sorry, now I hear myself talking in the background. Thank you. Jumping back into the questions, I do see that Tracy has asked a question about your relationship with God, Jesus, or the Holy Spirit. Although I appreciate that question, Tracy, I'm going to let folks answer that in writing if they like, and they can respond. I'm not going to go through that today with the group. I'm going to focus on some of the broader questions. Okay. So Beth has asked, given the apparent lack of diversity across candidates for District 13, and that our district includes both Indigenous and Black communities, my question is about systemic racism and oppression. I'd like to hear from candidates what specific, direct, and personal action they've taken in the past 6 months to address racism and oppression. I think we're going to stick with that. We're not going to jump into follow-ups, although I guess I would say, maybe it's not so much a follow-up. What have you done in the last 6 months to address racism and oppression, and what have you learned from that? Okay, I'm going to start with Tim.
So first of all, thanks for that question. It's an ongoing topic. It never has to. We always have to talk about it. What I've done in the past. First, I have to touch on the point. Right now, for within HRM candidacy through women candidates as well as persons of color. It's been the most amount of candidates that we've had here, so I'm really excited about this, and I love how people can come forward and be the change. And I really would love to have seen more in our district, and it's so great to have Pam here and have the voice, but I would really love to see more. What I've done personally, I've stood up whenever I hear of any racist tones. I don't stand for it. It's very important for me that I lead by examples. At this point, Black Lives Matter. It's always the case, and it's not a conversation. It's so important to keep at the forefront and always discussed to see the differences in our community.
That's great. Thank you, Tim. On to Pam.
Thank you so much for this question, Beth. It is so important for us, as Tim just pointed out, to remember that this is an issue every day, that Black lives do matter and that Black lives still matter. And we need to do all that we can to stamp out racism, and also to support Black women and Black men who are running in this election right now. People of color who have said, please listen, hear me out. I'm just honored to have spoken with many of them, and I have worked very hard in the last few months to support Iona Stoddart in particular. She is a good friend of mine, and Iona is running in District 12 against the incumbent Richard Zarowski. She also ran in 2016. So her and I have been working quite closely. I just recently spoke with Nicole Johnson, who is also running District 2, you know, and just so proud of this young, fierce Black woman who's just making waves. And so I personally have taken diversity.
Look at that. Sorry, I muted myself at the same time. I apologize. On to Nick.
Thanks for the question. I believe we all have work to do to ensure gender and racial diversity, and we need to also continue to work to remove barriers for those diverse groups. We need to ensure that we're being inclusive of everything we do, including our choices and the research behind them. I think that HRM has a great diversity and inclusion office, and I'll be the first to say that I'm in the need of opinions from all groups, and I'm listening, and I will be listening, and in making decisions in every corner of my council role. I'm not afraid to admit that I have learning to do about other cultures, and I will seek out diversity and inclusion in every decision I make.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Nick. On to Robert. Oh, you're on mute, Robert. Oh, you're still on mute. Oh, Robert, you're on mute. You know, okay. There you go.
Oh, now I can unmute. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't actually personally come across any instances of oppression or racial discrimination in the past 6 months, but I have reached out to a candidate from another district who is a woman of color and offered support and help if she needs it. We chat frequently. There's more than a type of bias or discrimination. I happen to be a single father who raised my daughter on his own, and I've encountered the same sort of thing. Even though I'm female, I'm a straight white guy, but I still know the feeling of encountering bias in society, systematic biases. So, you know, I'm fully supportive of everybody of every color, of every gender, of every sexuality. I think that quality is extremely important, and I fully support it. Diversity.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robert. Daryl?
Hi, Patrick, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I guess I think it's a state of mind. I have a spiritual background also, and I morning, and I kind of want my kids to do the same thing. And I know they're involved with black ice hockey. I think one of the goals I had in life, I spoke at a mosque just recently, and I want to learn French. I want to learn the guitar, but I also want to learn other faiths and cultures. So that's really important to me. But just recently, I was canvassing in the upper Hammonds Plains, and bringing the Black people's issues to mind is something that they would like to see other people talk about and engage. And I'm going to my platform is to have an annual forum that we talk about diversity and accessibility, and something that's true to my heart.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And finally, Derek.
Awesome, thank you, and thank you for the question. This is it's kind of a personal issue for me as well, because I have friends who face discrimination every day as well, and they've told me stories, and it's insane just hearing some of the stories you hear sometimes, and it just, I think one of the things I want to do is just tell people that this is happening, because not enough people are cluing in that this is still happening. This is not a thing of the past. So having a more inclusive council, having as diverse of an opinion as possible, reaching out to these communities that have been suffering for so long, and just showing our support as well as candidates and councillors that Black Lives Matter, every child matters. That should be at the forefront.
That's great. Thanks, Derek. I see we're a little late starting the clock there. So, but thank you for ending on time. Thank you. And Ian, I think I neglected you. So over to you.
Yeah, no problem. For me, it's kind of it's a difficult issue for everyone to address. But for me, not being from here, not being from Nova Scotia, not being from Canada, I came to the country and not once have I ever experienced any form of racial discrimination or anything based on the color of my skin, my sexuality, or my religion. You can't say that if you're not from a Western European country. I've heard people talk at length against immigration and telling people to go back to their countries, and I've stood up for it every time. But it's important for people like me to acknowledge that I don't know what it's like, and to be open and to listen and to hear people's problems. And I have a number of friends and coworkers that are people of color, and I've reached out to them and I've just basically said, you don't have to talk, but if you want a place to talk, I'm here and I'm willing to listen. And if I'm elected to councillor, I have a chance to change that. And I think that's a great thing. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you very much, Ian. Okay, I'm going to try and combine two questions, which is always risky given that I'm forcing you to do it in 1 minute, provide an answer in 1 minute. But you have a very big district in District 13, and you've received a question on snow removal. Are you happy with snow removal? And second, public transit. So I'm going to kind of lump that together. I know they don't necessarily go together, but I'm going to lump that together and say you have a very big district, and part of a big district is, are you satisfied with snow removal or public transit? So I'm gonna jump over to Daryl to start that off.
Okay, you're giving me 1 minute?
I am.
Okay, snow removal. Well, some people are happy and some people are not so happy. So I guess my role as councillor would be to actually have a better understanding for the rules of the road, so to speak, from the perspective of the contractors that are hired and the timelines that anticipated timelines for each street in the district, being it as large as it is between provincial and municipal groups. Public transportation, I'm big on surveys. Piggies Cove Road, there's residents would like a public transportation down there and to other parts. My belief would be to survey the residents to see what would be beneficial in terms of cost efficiency. Bay Rides provides a very valuable service down there, and we'd want to make sure that it makes sense to have public transport down there. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Daryl. On to Derek.
Thank you. I mainly know from my experience when I lived in Hammonds Plains. I mean, the snow removal was decent, but there were times that it was really lacking. I suppose there's something I do want to look more into, because I know certain areas, especially with the municipal provincial jurisdictions, there are some issues. So with transit, one of my big things is like having a transit route that goes down the whole of Hammonds Plains Road, just so it can connect to the new proposed ferry terminal, the new rapid transit system, and just expanding service for that, so we're not having this massive congestion nightmare going down Hammonds Plains Road, more so than what it is right now. And I also want that to branch out to the other communities in the area. Peggy's, as Daryl mentioned, Peggy's Cove is a big area as well that's been asking for transit. And I want to thank Bay Rides as well for providing such a great transit service. And I hope we can keep expanding our transit in this district.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Derek. Pam.
Did you say Nick?
Sorry.
No, Pam. Pam,
Oh.
start.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this question. I hear this a lot. There's definitely two standards of service here, whether you're on a provincial road or a municipal road. That's the biggest issue when it comes to snow plowing. And obviously, some individuals who are emergency personnel, they need to get out sooner than later. And if they're on a tertiary road, if they have a relationship with the snow plower, then they can get out earlier. So it really is about who you know in order to get out from a storm. Another thing that people are going to be well aware of this year is the speed humps and the sound of the snow plow on those speed humps in front of their home. That's going to be waking them up in the middle of the night. As far as transit, we've got a significant issue holding back business growth, because businesses cannot get employees to their place of business without public transit. Bay Rides is great, but the Utility and Review Board needs to relax the restrictions on their route so they can service more people. Thank you so much for that question.
Thanks, Pam. Okay, now on to Nick.
Thanks for the question. When it comes to snow removal, it's a complex issue with both provincial and municipal jurisdictions. What I think we should do is definitely look at our service standards closely and closely keep our thumb on whether or not they're being met. I hear a lot from people, I've heard from people over in Highland Park about salt being applied to the roads where people have wells. That's not good. That's not a good thing at all. And onto transit, I think Bay Rides is a positive organization. I think that Uber and Lyft are going to be a plus for our communities. I'm not going to candy coat it and say that we can afford to send buses down the Peggy's Cove Road. I don't think we can. We'll work towards it, but I think there's little things that we can do. Like, for instance, the time that the link leaves, let's line it up with the time that the kids go to school, because you got to be able to drop your kids off before you catch the bus.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Nick. Robert. Oh, mute. There we go. Oh, still on mute. Why don't I go to Ian, and as soon as you get off mute, just come off mute, Robert. So I'll go to Ian.
Okay, for snow removal, it's kind of the one area that I actually haven't heard too much about, and it's not really something I can kind of talk about with a great deal of confidence, because this is still my first year dealing with it. Maybe the reason I haven't heard about it is because it's not in people's mind until there's snow on the ground. But I would love to talk to people about what they find the biggest issues with snow removal is, because it's something that at this moment I just don't know enough about. In terms of transit, Bay Rides, like previously mentioned from the other candidates, is an essential service. It's not for profit. It's supported by the provincial and the municipal government. It's something that is a great benefit to the community. And I agree with Nick as well that Uber and Lyft, I think it's going to assist this. It's not going to hurt it. It's going to also allow people to generate some income through their vehicle and not just be a cost to them constantly. With the state of our economy, it's going to be necessary for a lot of people to generate additional income. I'd also like to see our goal of transitioning 50% of our fleet by 2028 accelerated and increased. And I think this will alleviate some pressure and financial stress on municipal government that we can reinvest into routes.
Okay, we'll stop there, Ian. Thank you very much. Robert, we'll try. I'm going to get Kathleen and Sandra to take you off mute. So let's see if they can take you off mute. They should be able to do it. Whoever the host is. Sandra, can you do that? Or Kathleen, can you take off? There you're on. Go ahead, Robert, you're on.
Okay, this is the clock's not running. Am I muted? Okay, here we go. This is too big a topic for 1 minute. There's jurisdictional issues again between the province and the city with regards to snow removal. The contracting out may actually be lessened because of the new wage ruling that the vote by council made. So we may see more workers hired in-house with the city, but the city only extends so far into our district, and then the province takes over, and then you've got a whole different kettle of fish. With regards to transit, I've got a whole plan for transit. There is no plan for transit out here beyond what we have now, which is not adequate. It doesn't go to enough places in the city, and it doesn't go anywhere from Hubbards to Tantown, or from Peggy's Cove to Tantown, or along the St. Margaret's Bay to Timberley. We are not serviced by transit properly. I've got a plan.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Robert. And finally, Tim.
Yes, the dreaded snow question. So, what do I think needs to happen? Well, I agree with all the participants about this is a serious issue. A lot of our areas in our district are getting forgotten about, Peggy's Cove Road being one of them. I've heard a lot from a lot through my canvassing with regards to when the snowplows come, they grade up the gravel, the roads aren't getting graded very well. I do think we could take a page from Port Hawkesbury that said that has done in-house for better snow removal and patching of the roads. I'm going to leave it at that. But also moving over to transit, we need to be looking at the transit budget for sure. We're going into an estimate $20 million deficit. We can help offset this by looking at new ways outside of the box to increase transit revenue. So I'm thinking throughout late spring, early fall, why not have transit going out through a Metro X to key locations and key beaches? We do that all over the world, but we don't do that in HRM. And it could be an important revenue source.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Tim. There you go. Well, thank you. I apologize for putting that together and jamming it together. I think I'm sure all of you have much longer opinions about both transit and snow removal, but we got a lot in. So really appreciate your thoughts. I'm going to move on to another question now, which is how will the candidates campaign for the retainment of our green spaces, forest areas, natural habitats as the district grows and modern developments threaten to cut those down? I guess we're talking about green areas, forests, natural habitat. How do you protect those?
Patrick?
Sorry?
Patrick?
Yes.
Okay.
Daryl, I can
Patrick?
hear you. It says you're on mute. Oh, now you're muted.
Patrick?
Yes, who is it? Robert?
Hello?
I'm confused. Somebody's talking, but I can't tell who it was. So we're good. Does everybody got that question? It's the last question in the queue, basically. How do we balance our green areas with our natural habitats? Robert, I'm going to start with you because you are off mute.
Am I off mute?
You are off mute, so you get to talk.
Okay, so currently we actually have hundreds of acres of green space that's designated as woodlots. I have friends that own hundreds of acres. They cannot, as it stands, ever be developed. That doesn't mean that's even enough, though. That extends from behind the superstore in Tantown down past the old Halifax Road, if you're familiar with that is, which goes through from French Village through to Lewis Lake. That is all woodlot land, mostly. There are a few exceptions, hundreds and hundreds of acres. That's great, but we need more trail We have the Rails to Trails, which is fantastic, but that runs up at the head of the bay. We have nothing going down Peggy's Cove Road side, and it ties into active transportation and bike lanes. We don't have any bike lanes. There's no curb on the side of the road. It's very, very dangerous, needs to be addressed. But again, we do have hundreds of acres that can never be developed as it stands right now. There's work by the St. Margaret's Bay Stewardship Association to have more land designated as wilderness, and I think that's a great effort on their behalf. But that is yet to be realized. Again, I think there needs to be more along the Peggy's Cove Road for active transportation. Both sides of the road should be paved 3 feet, so they have a curb. So they.
Right, I'm going to cut you off there, Robert, because luckily for you, we forgot to turn the clock on. So you had a bit of an advantage there. So I'm going to start my own clock here as we go along. And Pam, I'll go to you next.
Patrick, just a question for you.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
I can. Is that Chris? I don't know who it is. Is it you, Daryl? Whoever it is, ask the question.
Patrick, it wasn't Chris. I'll tell you that. That's me.
Okay.
Hi, Pat. I believe it's Daryl.
Daryl, did you have a question? Because now your screen is frozen, so there's not much I can do, Daryl, to help. Your screen is frozen, so I'm going to go on to Ian. Sorry, I was going to Pam. I'm completely confused now. Pam.
No worries, Patrick. It's fine. Thank you so much. I appreciate this question as a board member of Friends of Blue Mountain Birch Cove. Oh, you haven't started the clock. There you go. As a board member of Friends of Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes, I've been working actively with a wonderful group of people to preserve that wilderness area. You know, I will echo what Robert said. Absolutely, we need to work to keep that wilderness area wilderness, and that means not permitting the rezoning of those lands like we saw with the asphalt plant land, which was moving from wilderness to industrial. You know, it's important for us to keep our coastlines, keep access to the ocean, which I continue to hear is an issue of St. Margaret's Bay and along Peggy's Cove Road, and people don't have access to the ocean. I'm very concerned about the straight pipes that are, you know, bringing raw sewage into St. Margaret's Bay. We need to address that. We can't keep putting our head in the sand. We certainly have to ensure that there's a broader understanding of why we need the wilderness area and why we need citizens to help us protect that.
Okay, great, thank you. Daryl, I'm going to go to you now. Yep.
Hi there, Kathleen.
No, you're on with me, Daryl.
Yeah, no, I've been out for about a minute, so I don't even know what the question is.
Oh, okay, that's all right. The question is, how will the candidates campaign for the retainment of our green spaces, forest areas, natural habitat? Basically, how will you balance sort of conservation and green spaces with modern development in that district?
Okay, I'm gonna, before you start, I'm just gonna apologize to people because I don't know, probably it's been me that's, I've been in and out of the Zoom window for the last minute. And I don't know if everybody, I was saying that Tim was talking about snow removal. I don't know if everybody heard him because I didn't hear his full minute.
Yeah, everybody else I think was heard. So I think we're good. So I think it's probably just yours. Maybe we need to have a question about rural internet. But we're not going to get to that today. So, Daryl, do you want to answer the question on sort of conservation? And
Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. This is something that's true to my heart. I met with the members from Blue Mountain Birch Cove, a couple of the members there, and you know, my son and I have been, you know, probably 25 years ago, we canoed back and stayed overnight in that area. And I think that it's something we have to preserve. I mean, sort of the word has been put out as a central park for Halifax, and what a beautiful idea. I think what we have to do is we got to look at both sides. So I've got a lot of experience with negotiating with developers, and I think we have to look at what they need to what we need and bring the two minds together instead of having these things go into the courts. There is, you know, they look at what's going to be of value to them, and I think they'll come on side for what's needed with the community.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Daryl. And just in case anybody wants to, they can communicate with me in the chat function too, right? Okay, if you can use the chat function. Nick, over to you.
Thanks for the question. And this one is tugging at my heartstrings. I've been the chair of the St. Margaret's Bay Stewardship Association for a number of years. And for at least the past 10 years, we've been working to protect the Ingram River Wilderness Area, which is the former Bowater Mersey lands that were bought back by the province in 2012 by the Dexter government. We're also working to remediate centuries-old damage to rivers by the logging industry, and we're undertaking a biodiversity assessment for the region and have a current moratorium on clear cutting until that's completed. I think that the Ingram River and the Blue Mountain Birch Cove wildernesses are our Muskoka. I think that if we squander it, we have ruined our identity and we've taken away one of the main reasons why people live here. I think that we need to work to preserve it forever.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Nick. I cut you off there, but I think we were 1 second to go. So thank you very much. On to Derek.
All right, thank you. Yeah, one of my priorities is maintaining Blue Mountain Birch Cove as well and our green spaces all throughout our district. A lot of fond memories of going through Blue Mountain Birch Cove. That's basically my childhood in a nutshell. So especially with the encroaching developments that are happening right now, I think our top priority is just minimizing that as much as possible and just show that there's an economic benefit as well to maintaining this and a huge business benefit as well, because it's more attractive places to live if we maintain our green space. And we have underutilized land within our district. Might as well make use of that instead of encroaching on so much of our green space that contributes to so much of the character in our community.
Great, thanks very much, Derek. And on to Tim.
I'll be parroting a lot of the other candidates here. This is definitely something that's close to my heart. Our kids live by that, our family lives by it. And as we head into the unknown challenges of 2021, we need to focus on sustainability, both environmentally and economically. And as our city continues to grow rapidly, if we don't have good governance in place to protect and finding realistic solutions to, well, accessible recreation, job security, and senior care, we need to, as Daryl said before, we need to find the middle ground between development and protecting our accessible resources. We're going to be in big trouble if we don't do that. So we don't have anything if we don't have our planet. And these unique areas like Blue Mountain, Birch Cove, it's stunning. However, we're growing so fast. And we need to have these lands that don't sit idle, that are part of the municipality, like we have in Peggy's Cove Road, where it's deemed a park, and yet we have no access to it. So we need to open up our accessible recreation as well and develop some parkland that gives us waterfront access.
Okay, close. Okay, on to Ian. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Tim. On to Ian, sorry.
Okay, I'm pretty much just going to echo pretty much everything that everyone has already said. One of the joys of being last to talk. But for me, like, this is one of the big three crises that I've been talking about on the global scale. The issue of fighting climate change is one of the reasons I got into this race. I'm glad to see that every single candidate is for protecting it. And essentially every square foot of forested land or land that is used for industrial purposes, like the asphalt plant, is 1 square foot of land that is not there to fight back climate change through carbon sequestration. Oops, pardon me. But it's something that we need to protect, not just for the aesthetic beauty of it, not just for recreational purposes, but also because we have a moral obligation for future generations to do so. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Ian. Okay, we're getting close to, oh, sorry, did I miss anybody? No, did I get Pam? I think I did early, didn't I? I don't think I wrote you down when there was all that confusion and excitement. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to, I think, now jump to what is likely the final question, which is, what are your priorities for the next 4 years, and how do you plan on achieving them in 1 minute? So what are your priorities over the next 4 years, and how do you plan on achieving them? I'm going to start with Derek.
All right, thank you. So among my top priorities is safer streets for everyone, so for all road users, because we have very little cycling, walking infrastructure, just basic active transportation in our district. And I want to, especially within our local growth nodes, I want to bring that to the forefront and bring those to our areas. I mean, they need to be high priority areas. Once again, planning, because we need community-based planning in our district. We need developments that match and contribute to our district. And for transit as well, we desperately need to expand our transit. We need to have the connections to our new rapid transit system, especially our ferry. And finally, community engagement. I really want to hear from people, and I'm sure every single one of us here want to hear from people. So having as many avenues as possible where people can voice their concerns to us and just provide their feedback, say through town halls. They want to have monthly town halls. That is one of my absolute top priorities, and I hope that we can bring this forward.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Derek. On to Tim.
There we go. So we need to find the balance between protecting the environment and fielding our rapid growth, which needs sustainable development solutions. We need traffic calming and traffic safety, accessible recreation and common spaces that support businesses. Affordable housing, especially for seniors, is a ticking time bomb, and we need to make sure we have solutions in place to manage this. As we head into 2021, it's ripe for recession, so we need to find ways to limit our expenses and create new revenues. And transit debt will be a huge concern. Right now it's $20 million estimate, probably be more. We need to come up with out-of-the-box solutions such as expanding rural routes, and it will help us with our budgets and using them effectively. There will be many challenges ahead in 2021, and the District 13 Councillor needs to remain focused, dedicated, hardworking, and transparent in order to be successful. And I plan on doing that. So elect me, Tim Elms, for your candidate, Councillor for District 13.
Great, thanks very much, Tim. I'm going to go to Robert. Can I get Kathleen and Sandra to unmute Robert so that he doesn't have to worry about it? Let's see. Can you guys unmute? You're good.
Am I through?
Through.
Yay. Okay, so I've got 10 points here. Improvement in access to transportation of people within the district, between the district, and other key points within HRM. Plan for and create more and better recreation services and infrastructure. Protect forest wilderness area and coastline for recreation and the environment. Develop a world-class event concert site in Hammonds Plains. There's a perfect site already there, ready to go. It needs cooperation from HRM through services. Develop and implement road safety measures that promote active transportation. Attract healthcare professionals to work in the community. The province needs to allow communities to help attract doctors and nurses, not dictate where they go. Cut red tape by eliminating differences in jurisdiction between the province and the municipality based on imaginary borders within the district. Review bylaws and eliminate or modify them to suit this area better. And create more autonomy for districts to better direct their own destiny. Okay,
there you go. You got it all in 1 minute. Thank you very much. I want to be at Robert's house where you have Rice Krispie squares. Those look good. Okay, Nick.
Hi, thanks for the question. In the next 4 years, my priorities are going to be to work towards ending our affordable housing crisis. We need to create more low-cost housing. We can do so through creating developer incentives. What we need to do is level the playing field between market rate housing and low-cost housing. Developers are free market capitalists. They want to make as much money as possible. So it's our job as a municipality to help level that playing field so that we can get what we want, which is low-cost housing. We need to stop losing pieces of our community going to Clayton Park and downtown. We need to keep our seniors and our young people here in the community. We need to grow, and in the end, we need to grow while still looking and feeling like home. I'd like to do some work on public consultation. I'd like to put EpiPens in public places. I'd like to put body cameras on police. I'd like to fix our streets, and I'd like to review our industrial land inventory so we don't get more asphalt plants.
Okay, oh, there we go. An extra minute, extra second. There we go. Thanks, thanks, Nick. And on to Pam.
Hi, thank you for the question. there's so much to do, and but again, my priority goes back to ensuring that it's the community that's leading the community growth. We have a great opportunity here to address the housing crisis from a community perspective, so I would like to be able to support them to connect with federal funding and ensure that you know, the community that is here stays here and grows here. We need to address the communications and consultation issue. Certainly public involvement needs to be at the forefront. Transit growth, putting a plan in to ensure that we have accessible communities so that small businesses can grow. We have more and more people who are working from home, so we need to look at rezoning opportunities to ensure that that small business growth happens. And obviously, we've got villages that are forming right now, so we need to look at the tax structure and make sure that that tax structure makes sense for those villages that are evolving in our communities. And yeah, support community.
Okay, all right, great. Thanks very much, Pam, appreciate it. And I think, Daryl, I think you're last.
Yeah, I guess one of the main reasons I got involved with this a couple of months ago is really because of COVID. And the way my mind works is, you know, I look at short-term, medium-term, and visionary goals. And right now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, the clock's started. Anyway, you know, I've been dealing with COVID for the last seven plus months, and there's a lot of people that need help. You know, I've got people, businesses that have reached out to me that don't have advisors. They're going to lose their business. They may lose their homes. So that's primary, dealing with that matter and dealing with it in a way that satisfies the community. I'm going to open an office at my cost. I'm going to establish better relationships with other community organizations as I get through. Diversity, inclusion, accessibility is at the forefront. Working with HR and staff. Again, COVID is not going away. I've got experience with it. I've been dealing with it for the last 7 months, and I've been dealing with businesses, individuals, and organizations for the last 40 years. So I just think I have a good skill set for this. Thank you.
Okay, that's great, Daryl. Thank you very much. I didn't say you were last. You were, of course, last but not least. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. I've learned a lot about the community I want to live in, District 13. So thank you all very much. Really appreciate your time today. I do want to thank you all as candidates. I do want to thank, sorry, Ian, did I miss you? Oh my gosh. Oh, Ian, I missed you. I'm sorry.
Oh, not a problem.
No.
I have to be quick anyway. My 1-year-old is awake and she's terrorizing my house. So yeah, I'd just like to quickly talk about what I plan to do. Basically, the main reason why I got into the election was because 2020 isn't a normal year. It's not a normal election year. I think Daryl hit it right on the head. I think we're going to be living with COVID for at least the next 1 to 3 years. So this election is going to determine the councillor that's going to be dealing with that. So the 3 global crises that I identified at the start are going to have to be key for them. They're going to have to figure out a way to stimulate our economy, do it in a relatively safe COVID environment, and do it in a way that will help combat the effects of climate change. I've read a lot of stuff on this, and even our host, Patrick Sullivan, like I've read some of your stances on the provincial measures. Like if we're going to keep this Atlantic bubble, well, let's start using some of the restrictions. I know that our hospitality industry and our tourism industry could greatly benefit from this, and these are some of the things I'd love to see. But I think our councillor needs to address these 3 big problems.
Okay, thank you, Ian. I apologize for missing you there. I thought I had all my check marks, but apparently I didn't. So now we really will wrap it up. Is there anybody I missed? No, okay. Thank you all very, very much. A huge shout out again to Chris at NSAR, Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, for the opportunity to promote the importance of voting and hearing from the candidates, and actually providing everyone with an opportunity to speak a little bit about housing and affordability. So thank you very much for that, Chris. Again, I want to thank all of our candidates for joining us today. Really helpful, and I really admire each and every one of you for running. It's hard to kind of put put your name out there, and really appreciate you doing that, and appreciate all of the efforts that you make. I have certainly learned a lot about District 13, so I very much appreciate it. Please keep an eye for all of our viewers on our bulletin and social media. We will continue to post candidate responses and to our questions. We'll get that out over the next few days. And this has been recorded, and it will be available on our site, I think, or on our YouTube site in the next day or so. So thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night.
Thank you.
Bye. Good luck.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.